And for more on the synthetic diamond industry and what impact it may have on the precious stone industry at large, I'm joined by Rob Bates. He's the news director of JCK, a jewelry industry trade publication. Rob, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Rob, as we just saw in Tracy's report, lab diamonds are practically identical to naturally grown diamonds physically, optically, and chemically. The carbon structure is the same. So how can you tell them apart?
Well, I can't tell them apart. Probably you can't tell them apart. Even most jewelers can't tell them apart. There are devices and machines and people who are very well trained who can tell them apart. So they are detectable, but you need specialized equipment.
More specialized than the average gemologist glass?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
So does this now create the issue of fake diamonds being passed off as real diamonds or natural diamonds, if you will?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the people who grow these diamonds object to them being called fake diamonds because, in a way, they are diamonds. They are just grown in a different way. Yes, that's a huge issue, and I think a lot of people are very worried about it. And for that reason, a lot more of the big diamond companies are sending their diamonds into labs to make sure that they're tested, to make sure that they are natural. So
how are these lab-grown diamonds different, or how do they compare? What are the advantages of buying a lab-grown diamond as opposed to a naturally created one?
Well, I would say the advantages are they're cheaper. Now, sometimes they'll say they're 40% cheaper. We haven't necessarily found that.
How much cheaper?
It depends. You know, sometimes they are 40% cheaper. Sometimes they're 10% cheaper, 20% cheaper. It really depends on the diamond. So they are cheaper. And again, unlike CZ or moissanite or some of the other kind of standard threats to the diamond industry, these are actual diamonds. So that's something that's a plus. The other thing that's often called a selling point is the fact that you have a guaranteed origin, so you have less of a chance of having blood diamonds. And they are also considered, though there's debate over this, eco-friendly.
Well, that is some of the marketing strategies that these companies are going for, calling them environmentally friendly and guaranteed conflict-free. Is this gaining traction in terms of appealing to people, or are people still swayed by the notion that if you want something to last forever, as symbolic of the love, as De Beers has pushed that campaign down our throats for years and years, it has to take forever to be created?
Well, it depends on the consumers. Right now, there's a very limited supply of lab-grown diamonds out there, so you can't even find that many. You know, it depends on a lot of people. I think younger consumers are definitely more concerned about these issues than than perhaps baby boomers and Gen Xers. The other thing is the natural industry does have a case to make for itself, as you mentioned at the top of the top of this piece. You know, some natural diamonds do have a very positive impact on the countries in which they were mined. So, in a way, it's not as black and white.
You said that the market is still very small, that they're pretty scarce at the moment. How big is the synthetic diamond business right now?
You know, it's very difficult to tell because these are private companies. But from everything we can tell, it's less than 1% of the overall market. So it's still very small and it's still very new.
And the target consumer is the millennial.
You know, again, it's tough to say, but I would say they are a natural constituency for these things because they did not necessarily grow up with the classic De Beers Diamond is Forever campaign. For a lot of them, their associations with diamonds are the Leonardo DiCaprio movie Blood Diamonds. Right. So they are more eco-friendly. They are more socially conscious, and they are also economically challenged. You know, they're having tough times. So,
well, does this dilute the value of diamonds as a whole?
I don't think it does.
And the whole notion of scarcity, if they can now be created, does this dilute the whole brand?
It certainly could down the road. One of the things that we see in the future is that the mining of natural diamonds is eventually, you're not seeing as many new diamond mines come on stream as you have in the past. So eventually, at some point, natural diamonds are going to become a lot more scarce, and it's possible that these diamonds will actually fill some of the gaps. Yeah.
Well, I wonder if they would still have the same cachet then. What has been the reaction from the traditional mining companies from the De Beers?
They're not too happy about it, I don't think. I think because it's a big change. If you think for a long time there's only one kind of diamonds, natural diamonds. Now there's two kinds of diamonds, natural and lab-created diamonds. But one interesting thing is De Beers actually has a subsidiary that makes synthetic diamonds. They make them for industrial purposes, not for gems. But there's always been a lot of speculation that if this becomes a big market, they could eventually jump into it.
So De Beers is already poised to get into that game.
I think
this is similar to the cultured pearls of Mikimoto that initially were rejected, but now have become even more coveted, one would argue.
Right, but the cultural pearls, in a way, are different because they pretty much took over the natural pearl market, and I'm not 100% sure that's going to happen here. It depends.
Which countries do you see as being the biggest markets for these lab-grown diamonds?
Well, certainly the United States is the biggest diamond market in the world, so it stands to reason they would be the biggest lab-grown diamond market in the world.
One issue I have with them, they can't be bigger than 1 carat, is what I hear.
Well, there's a little while ago somebody produced a 10-carat diamond, but it's very, very rare, let's put it that way. So, and it's very tough to find, and that's another disadvantage that they have right now.
Well, size is important, especially when it comes to diamonds, so lab-grown needs to work on that. All right, thank you so much, Robert Bates, News Director of JCK. Stay